Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Friday on this June 6, 2025. I have all of your stories for your rush hour ride home. And we've got a surprise bachelorette wedding this weekend. Michelle Young tying the knot. I'll share some info on that. And more on Laura Owens, as it appears as her family attorney, David Gingras, has been told to shut up from her new criminal defense lawyer, which she has because she was charged with 7 felonies, thanks to our audience. We'll take a victory lap. And then we've got more Blake Lively, a psychiatrist, goes on Sky News and says Blake was in love. Did this all start because Blake caught some feelings for old 8-pack Justin? We'll have to see. And then a story that might have a good ending coming out of Massachusetts, as there were protests following the arrest of a teenager, a high school student, who I guess his visa had lapsed. And he is out on bail, and we'll share that story. Plus, more Elon Musk. Donald Trump has commented. Elon's been a little quiet today. Boy, you remember those days after a good bender where you're like, I better be quiet. I said some things on the old Facebook. Well, we'll have to see. Maybe, who knows? Maybe by tonight we'll have another crazy tweet party. But a boy can dream, right? All right, I got all these stories and more. It's all happening right now on The Rush. All right, we'll get to the Real Housewives of the Oval Office in a little bit, so stick around for that. But yeah, big surprise this weekend. Michelle Young reveals her wedding date. It's sooner than you think. I believe it's tomorrow. I mean, if you look at Michelle's Instagram, and again, we don't know much about her partner. They've been together for a year and a half, but just in the last couple weeks, she's been putting together the gown and all of the other things. Now, is this a real wedding, or is this one of those we're getting married because it's a sponsored event types of things? I honestly have no idea. It seems pretty quick. As you can see from the bridal bum shot, Mrs. Leas, I think it's called. I don't know. So either way, congratulations to Michelle. This relationship has already lasted longer than your one from The Bachelor, but that's no surprise because you don't find love on The Bachelor. You get a verification and a couple brand deals. That's all you get. That's all they give you. All right. Speaking of finding love, it appears to be a love-hate relationship with Laura Owens and her attorney. So I just wanted to share and point out, I love to give flowers to Clayton's Justice on Twitter, Justice for Clayton on Instagram, as they share the fraud that was committed by Laura Owens and hold her accountable every step of the way. They said, hey, Dave Gingras, her family law attorney, she never paid, or maybe she paid him a few bucks, but he essentially has been working for free. Why did you turn off and delete all the comments on your YouTube video? Was Laura's new criminal defense attorney upset you admitted she committed more perjury? I mean, listen, lawyers come in all shapes and sizes. You got the big dogs that fight the criminal defense, and then you've got, like, no offense, there's, different levels, family court, smaller and whatnot. And then you have David Gingras, whatever the hell he is, failed, First Amendment lawyer. I don't really know. But either way, he's being bitch slapped metaphorically, as it seems, from the criminal defense attorney. I mean, you could imagine, as he's turned off his comments. And it's really funny because, he can't help but sink his client's ship. If we didn't know any better, we would assume he's a mole working for the Justice for Clayton community. If he came out with a video and said, you know what? The truth is, I'm a fan of Clayton's and I was actually working for him the whole time, we would probably believe that. We would believe that because he's that bad at his job. And anyway, so he's now turned his comments off. You might remember he labeled himself as a First Amendment lawyer. I protect your right to say what you want. Well, now he's not letting people speak on his comment section because, in part, they found out that he's a fraud. And by fraud, I mean he's just not good at his job. And by not good at his job, I mean it's a Friday and we're having fun. We're having fun, David Gingras. This is what we get to do. I get to say a lot of trash and talk trash and take my victory lap, and you have to eat it because I won and you lost. And that's really what it comes down to. If this was a 9-inning baseball game, I don't even think you won 1 inning. What happened was Laura got the first hit of the game. She got the first hit of the game because nobody knew who the hell we were dealing with. You know what's so funny? I got family in town and they were like, hey, whatever happened to that case you were covering? And I was like, oh, the family court case where someone was pretending to be pregnant, she got charged with 7 felonies. So that'll go to trial October 23rd, 2025, unless it gets pushed back at all. So pretty funny to be able to see friends and family I haven't seen in a while and say, oh, remember that thing I was talking about? My community came together in a grassroots effort movement to stop somebody who is abusing a legal system in order to punish men. And we put a stop to that. And there's body cam footage coming out to prove it. So that footage hasn't come out yet, but there's your big update. We got a little salty, but you have to. You have to get salty. And yeah, like I said, his bio used to say, I protect your right to free speech, but now he can't claim he's a free speech lawyer now because all he's done is try to silence people. All right, let's move it on. This is a tough story. Speaking of silencing people, the greatest moment of a 16-year-old's young career was taken away. She had her state title stripped over celebration. How ridiculous is this? Justice for this track star. Have a listen.
Worked so hard for that title.
The greatest moment of 16-year-old Clara Adams' young career taken away from her because of a celebration. After winning the 400-meter event at the CIF State Championships with a time of 53.24 seconds, her dream of winning a state title went up in flames after celebrating using a fire extinguisher.
When she blew the fire extinguisher, the opponents were gone. That was our moment of celebration.
Now, I would suggest never pulling a fire extinguisher unless it's to extinguish a fire. It's not called a celebration starter. I would suggest that, but I also wouldn't take the prize from somebody. I might say, well, there's a cleanup fee. It's going to be a $100 fine. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, you don't take someone's medal away.
And the CIF officials made that about them.
The North Salinas High sophomore grabbed a fire extinguisher from her father and coach and extinguished off her spikes. The CIF deemed her celebration unsportsmanlike, stripping her of her title. It's a celebration made famous by American sprint icon Maurice Green, who enjoyed her paying homage to him and thinks she should get her state title back.
See, here's the key. If you're watching, Maurice Green, when he did it, he had somebody else be the fall guy to spray. So, my feet are so hot. Why? Because I run so fast. My shoes are on fire. All right, I get it. But then you have somebody else come in and spray the shoes off. So she was forced to spray the shoes off herself. There was the big problem. If you're looking to celebrate in the future, get a fall guy.
People just started calling me, oh, this girl who just won the 400 redid your celebration. I was like, huh, what? If it was away from everyone and not really interfering with anybody, I would say reinstate her.
There's a CIF rule saying you can't come over the wall, you can't be on the infield, which is a rule respected. But at this point, I saw an official grab my daughter by the arm. They were yelling in her face. When he grabbed her by the arm, I went over the wall at that point. I'm father now. I'm not coach anymore. I'm over the wall.
Now, the true fastest 400-meter runner in the state is back home without a medal.
Even if everything goes in my favor, in regards to getting my title back, I'll still never get that moment back, standing on the podium as a sophomore. I'll never get that back because they took it.
Yeah, I mean, and you can imagine these deputy, volunteer track officials, they probably have the little whistle and you need to spray them down with the fire extinguisher. Talk about a story about nothing. Slap her with a little timeout. All right, $50, whatever, 3 hours community service. You're not allowed to do that. Who the hell cares? In today's world, in this economy, you should be celebrating her. So I hope she gets some love out there. And hey, she's a sophomore. Fastest in which state is this? Fastest in the state. California. If she's the fastest in California in the 400, she's got hopes to be an Olympian, you would think. So either way, we'll have to see if there's any more from her. But yeah, it seems to me like it's, the no fun police. All right, so let's move on. What else do we have? Oh, you know what? Let's do this. I'm going to share with you what the psychiatrist had to say. They spoke to Sky News Australia, claiming Blake Lively began to fall for Justin Baldoni romantically. Now, this is a great theory. It makes sense. A lot of times when people catch feelings, some weird things happen. Other folks have disagreed with it and said, no, it was about power. It was about this. It was the fact that he was a younger person who had less experience and he was in control and she wanted it. Either way, I'm looking forward to seeing what this psychiatrist had to say, this story next. All right, take it with a grain of salt. Who knows? Who cares? But here's a hot take. The psychiatrist, doctor and author, Dr. Carol Lieberman on Sky News Australia.
Quest for production from both sides before the actual trial. And so part of what is requested is records. If if you're claiming emotional stress, the defense has to make sure that you don't have these emotional problems before the incident that you're claiming emotional distress from. So,
yeah, like imagine you're claiming emotional distress. You're like, all right, I went into panic mode. And then you pull up security footage of them flipping out at a Starbucks 3 years earlier. It's like, listen, that's what they'll have to look into. Anytime that Blake Lively's in an emotionally distressful situation before the Justin Baldoni thing, you just say, look, I didn't cause this. You already had these hives that broke out when you had to memorize your lines or whatever the case may be. I'm just using that as an example. So that's probably partly why she decided to pull out that claim.
So seemed like it was this big surprise to her, and she didn't want the public, obviously, to see what her mental health records were. But it's a surprise that that they wouldn't have made that clear to her from the beginning when she filed this suit. But the thing is that she filed this suit in such a kind of an emotional upheaval. She wasn't really thinking logically about all these kinds of details. Perhaps her attorneys did tell her this and she just didn't hear it. But, she's claiming that Baldoni was sexually harassing her. Now, if I've watched the videos of the scenes of this one particular scene where they're dancing together, and I watched the whole movie. It's a really good movie. But there's this one scene in particular that she seemed to have a problem with, where they were dancing closely, and he was talking to her. Now, she said that he was saying certain things that, in fact, there actually is a copy of what he was really saying. Music was going on. And so she thought that the actual words wouldn't be heard. It wasn't heard in the movie, but I mean,
right.
the case, they were able to get the whole, the full file of it. So anyhow, what I think happened was that she was trying to say that he came on to her in this movie. Now, he's married, not that married men don't come on to women, but he seems happily married. And really what I think happened is that she got into her character tremendously, like good actors are supposed to do. And I think she was starting to fall for him. And she was very uncomfortable with that possibility because, of course, she's married. And that made her all very uncomfortable. And so at the end, she just decided to blame him for sexual harassment rather than facing and acknowledging her own feelings. I mean, one of the things that I do is besides being an expert witness, I work with movies and television shows as a psychiatric consultant. So I've been on sets where there are sex scenes or romantic scenes, all kinds of scenes. And so I know, I'm looking at that and from that eye. And I think she's just way out of line. And this thing has just taken on a life of its own. And now, things are not looking good for her. And I wonder if her husband, how much longer he's going to stay supporting her, because this has just really blown up.
It's an interesting take. We have no idea. She wasn't there, but the idea that Blake, hey, she's such a good actress, she fell for him. I just don't know why you would make things public, but hey, that could have been part of the thing where she was misinterpreting things as she was maybe catching feelings and then going, this isn't right. I don't know if I buy it though. Hot Mics with Billy Bush is also discussing, will Baldoni even have a career after this?
Is Baldoni going to have a career after this? After this is all done, what happens to Baldoni's career? Do you think this hurts him? It certainly puts him on the map. A lot of people didn't know him now.
Well, he's a founder of Wayfarer Studios with Steve Sarowitz, so he's got a billionaire, like-minded guy who's by his side. Justin's a founder. He's built into this thing. I think it's always what Blake Lively wanted. I think Blake Lively, what's behind her trying to take over this movie, as I always have maintained, I think she wants to see herself on par with her friend, former friend, or friend on hold, whatever you want to call it, Taylor Swift, and someone like a Reese Witherspoon. Reese Witherspoon was an actress, Sweet Home Alabama, and Legally Blonde, and all these things, and all of a sudden she became a power player in town by buying IP. She did what Baldoni did with the book It Ends With Us. Witherspoon does this on a million different fronts. She's got all these different series, and she builds up her huge company, Happy Sunshine or whatever it is, Hello Sunshine, and she sells it for a ton of money. That's what I think Blake sees herself as.
Yeah, I mean, there's multiple things that can happen. She could have caught feelings, and then she could have also said, when, hey, this guy doesn't deserve this. And if somebody thinks somebody doesn't deserve something, they might feel like it's okay to take it. You ever steal something? You ever buy something so overpriced you steal something? Appetizers. Maybe you're walking through the self-checkout at Walmart, and you're like, this is ridiculous. There's no cashier. I'm going to charge the organic bananas as inorganic. Ooh, I don't know what you do. Live your life, folks. I don't care. But maybe this is on a much bigger level. Blake saying, you know what? F this guy. I'm going to take the rights to this film. Again, we'll probably never know. We probably will never know. All right, let's dive into this story. And by the way, this weekend, I think we will have another exclusive Blake Lively story, so stick around for that. Make sure you're subscribed. I always like to give you some weekend content when I can. But Milford, Massachusetts has responded to ICE agents. ICE agents last weekend, they took this teenager. They were looking for the guy's dad. They ended up taking him. And all of this sort of ICE agent bootlickers are saying, well, if he was here illegally, blah, 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 blah. It's like, gosh, like what kind of, cruel worlds do we live in where we're just okay with people being, sent to immigration detention centers because we caught them. What were they doing? Hanging out at a Home Depot. Oh, terrible humans, right? It's like the amount. Anyway, you get my point. Either way, here's what people had to say. He was released. This one case. I mean, there's been like 100,000 deportations, or there's been a lot, but this guy was released before a trial. The judge released him. We'll get to that part of the story after this.
Students at Stacy Middle School in Milford rallying for Marcelo Gomez, the 18-year-old Milford High School student arrested by ICE agents on his way to volleyball practice over the weekend. As this community continues to be center stage on a national issue, Marcelo's closest friends are speaking out about the type of person he is.
Every single day at school, at volleyball, wherever he went, he always brought a smile on his face and he was always looking to uplift others.
Tyler Newman was Marcelo's neighbor and best friend. He says that Marcelo pushed himself to be someone who excelled in academics and extracurriculars.
He started taking APs, started getting more and more involved. I just watched him progress and progress, not only become a better athlete, but a better drummer, a better friend, and a better student.
Marcelo was in the U.S. on an expired student visa, raising the question, why didn't he just renew it? D.C.-based immigration attorney Kaylin Wu says the visa renewal process can be daunting for immigrants, bringing fear and uncertainty to people about going to the government.
They're being much more proactive about if you show up and you do not have proper status and you are subject to mandatory detention, they will call ICE on you and you will show up. And I think that
yeah, I mean, this is the problem, right? Everyone always said, well, if people just come here the right way, like that's what people would say. And then people try to do things the right way, and then ICE is waiting at the detention facility. Well, he was released yesterday, Milford High School student released from federal detention facility in Burlington, Massachusetts on Thursday. And here is the first he has spoken since his release.
I didn't specifically know about my immigration status because I came here when I was 6 years old. And when I got here, the woman said, she was like, do you know why you're arrested? And I said, no, I don't. She said, because you overstayed your visa. You came here in 2013, and in 2015 you overstayed. And I told her, I was like, ma'am, I was 7 years old. Like, I don't know nothing about that stuff. Like, I don't understand how it works. I saw a car behind me. I thought it was a normal car, and I just kept driving normally. And then he pulled me over right when I got into my friend's house in her driving lot. He stopped right behind me, and he got out his car, turned on his lights, and he knocked on my window. And he said, can you get out of your car? Why? And he told me to give him my license and registration, which I did. And whatever, it took some time. I was in shock. I didn't know what was going on. And he ended up saying, why? Do you know why you're under arrest? And I said, no, I don't. Why? And he said, because you're illegal. You're an immigrant. But he gave me no reason to stop me, no reason for a traffic stop, nothing. And
let me ask you and my audience this. Let's have a moment of soul searching. Are you okay with this? Is this the America you want to live in? Really think about it. Don't just rush to judgment. Well, they was here illegally. They was here illegally. Fucking think about it. Put on your big boy and your big girl critical thinking glasses and fucking think about it. Is this what you would want for your kids? Somebody getting an education. They probably work a job in the summertime. They're going to go to school or become a tradesman or do whatever the hell they're going to do. This isn't the problem. Wake the fuck up. Because I still know there's people in my audience. Well, but if he was just going to do it by you privileged fuck. You privileged fuck. That you were born on one side versus the other. Well, my great-grandfather came here. Fuck off with that. If you're still not having empathy. The kid had a sign, have empathy. And that's all we have in our community. That's all we have is empathy for these difficult situations. These ICE agents, they have a quota to fill. But these aren't speeding tickets. These are people's lives. And you can decide what side you want to be on. We've made it abundantly clear. I've had issues in the past with my hometown where they were rounding up, I think, a bunch of Ecuadorian folks that were just working there as migrant farmers. They came, I think, for the summer. I come from a very rural community, very, small farmlands and stuff like that. And they did this stuff in the past, and it terrorizes people. And they're not, like I said, you're here doing something violent. If you commit a crime, that's a different story. But the system, the solution to the system is more immigration judges, more bandwidth to deal with the problem. And sure, start letting less people in, but dealing with the people that are here with compassion and grace. For so many people who claim to be Christians, you've turned your back on folks like this. You have turned your back on him, and you are a hypocrite, and you are not a Christian. You are not practicing those values. Let's go to Elon Musk. I love hearing Australian news. I really do. They just have such a great way of putting things. So here's the Australian news. Channel 10 News First last night covering the dumpster fire, Elon Musk versus Donald Trump.
As far as breakups go, this one is about as public as it gets. Two of the world's most powerful men hurling barbs across their respective social media platforms. So just how bad can the Elon Musk and Donald Trump bust-up get? The public cracks had started to appear in the world's most famous bromance last week.
I love it. The world's most famous bromance. They're trading barbs. All right, so we continue. Here we have the Republicans trying to deal with the fact that there's a fight between daddy and daddy. And it's so funny when something happens and then you wait to see what the talking point's going to be. And then you get the talking point and then you regurgitate it because you're a puppet. Now, not you specifically, but the people that do what we're about to listen to.
No, the party doesn't need Musk. I think the country needs Musk. The country, both Democrats, Republicans alike. He's a smart guy. And come on.
And are you not shocked by the allegations that he's in the Epstein files?
No, I don't give a
He doesn't care that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files.
Give about that.
Elon Musk has done a great thing for the country. Trump is doing a great thing, so words don't matter.
He's accusing him, though, of being in the Epstein files.
Okay.
It's more than a billionaire spat, isn't it? Isn't this potentially dangerous for Donald Trump?
Look, you've heard some unbelievable things said on both sides. If he accused him on Epstein, what do the facts say?
Well, that's what we want to know. What do the facts say?
If it is, we're going to see everything, just like with John Kennedy murder. You bring everything out. So I don't mind that.
He is the president of the United States.
So he is the president. That's years ago, if it happened. And Donald Trump's not scared of that.
It's years ago if it happened, that being a massive pedophile.
Andy Cohen, if you're listening, you got to produce this reunion show. I have the seating chart of this, like where's Stephen Miller going to be seated. It's going to be fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, and I've heard folks say, shame on commentators for making light of this situation. I don't shame anybody. You can react however you want to the dumpster fire that you're watching, right? You ever seen a house burn down? It's like you can't look away, right? You're like, oh my God, this is sad, this is tragic. But at the same time, oh boy, and I can think that's what we're watching. So here we have Charlie Kirk, who was unfollowed by Elon Musk and choosing which daddy he's going to support.
Is Donald Trump's name in the Epstein files? Look, honestly, I'm so sick of this. First of all, as you know, President Trump and Elon Musk are fighting. I have a lot of respect for both of them and very thankful for what Elon did for purchasing X. Just so you know, President Trump's name was actually in the Epstein files going back to February That's right. In February, they were there. And look, this idea that he's on the clients list or some nonsense, being in Palm Beach, of course you're going to be listed in a long document. He was once friends with Jeffrey Epstein, and then he kicked him out of his club for being creepy towards young girls. It's very important to note that all this online nonsense, just go and look back. President Trump's own administration released Epstein files back in February where his own name was mentioned, not as a criminal, not as doing anything wrong. In fact,
it was heavily redacted. So Epstein offed himself, allegedly, during Trump's term. And I think it's a very fair conspiracy for people to wonder if he had anything to do with first of all, of course, Trump had a lot to do with the fact that the Epstein files are heavily redacted, but what else is in them? And I know, I understand, to be logical. They're like, if he was in them, wouldn't they have released the information before the election and whatnot? Who knows? Either way, it's pretty wild, the accusations and bombshell stuff coming from Elon Musk. What I would like to hear from Elon Musk is election subversion, what they did to try to stop certain people from voting. We've seen this in certain states where they challenged votes and, they literally are still, I think one judge's election was finally decided for the Democratic-leaning judge, and it took months because of the challenges they put forth. That all comes with money and bandwidth and whatnot. But at the very least, Elon Musk says right out, I am the reason Donald Trump won, and I don't think a billionaire should ever have that kind of power. Well, this goes back to November of 2024, where this commentator called out that this breakup was going to happen. I don't think anybody's surprised, but have a listen.
Well, I'm going to repeat my assertion about Elon Musk and Donald Trump. One of my favorite movies is Highlander, and there can be only one. And that's going to be Donald Trump. And I think we'll see what happens. Elon needs a lot of attention. And Trump will be irritated by that.
Yeah, and of course he is, and he was. All right, here's what Trump had to say. This is the reporting by Dana Bash, chief political correspondent for CNN. She said she spoke to Trump today. Have a listen.
Well, he said that he's, quote, well, here's exactly what he said, quote, I'm not even thinking about Elon. He's got a problem. The poor guy's got a problem. He said he won't be speaking to him for a while, but he said he wishes Elon Musk well. It was a short conversation. He didn't seem very exercised about it. And the interesting thing is, of course, the context of this is how many people who are in both men's orbits are trying to broker a peace deal, so to speak, and trying to get them to talk because of the concern about the fallout in so many directions. I mean, the blast radius from this fallout is really, really big and very wide. But right now he said he's not interested in that, and he's moving on. And in typical Donald Trump fashion, John, he, before I even asked the question, wanted to talk about what he wanted the storyline to be today, about the economy. He was talking about gas prices. He said he was waiting for the jobs numbers to come out, which I think is about.
By the way, I really think that the world could be on fire, and he'll be well, gas prices are okay, not to mention the fact that the world's never been more expensive for the middle class. They're losing, they're going to be having their taxes raised on the ultra poor, really, and tax cuts on the ultra wealthy. I mean, you guys tell me, where do you guys stand right now? You feel good about things going on? You feel nice knowing that the folks that might not be here illegally feel terror, that they have to hug their family every time they go to work or are afraid to go to work, or every time, they just want to get through the day, wondering if they're going to get rounded up and deported. And maybe you don't have that empathy. Maybe you're just happy to be on the right side of history. I don't know. But either way, we like to end our Friday afternoon episodes telling our boss to go fuck themselves, right? So in this case, we'll say it about anyone out there that's terrorizing or rounding up people or lacking empathy in a world that can use nothing but more love. Tell them to go fuck themselves. We'll see you later. Don't forget, I'll have some extra weekend content for you. We'll see you then. I'm Dave, and this is The Rush.